Howdy! Welcome to Aspire Mountain Academy. I am Professor Curtis, your instructor for this course in Introductory Statistics. In less than 10 minutes, this video provides some extra practice for detecting common pitfalls many encounter when using statistics. Remember, you need to participate and actually give a response when I pause in the video if you want to maximize your learning. Let's get started. We're playing a game here called What is Wrong, in which I give you an example of a statistical study and you tell me what's wrong with it. Now, if you've ever wondered how that old story about babies coming from storks developed, here you go. A statistical study conducted in the years after World War II found a strong correlation between the number of human births and the size of the stork population. Therefore, we can conclude that storks cause babies. What's wrong here? Well, here we have two variables that may be correlated, but that doesn't mean that one causes the other. Remember, correlation is not causation. Next up is an example from the New York Times Magazine, which once reported about the decline of Western investment in Kenya with this statement. After years of daily flights, Lufthansa and Air France had halted passenger service. Foreign investment fell 500% during the 1990s. What's wrong here? Well, again, 100% is everything. So if you experience a decrease, you can't lose more than what you have. It's not like investors think your business is so awful that now you owe them money. They may think it's awful, but in that case, they simply choose not to invest. You can lose only what you have. And once that's gone, then everything's gone. Everything is 100%. So you can't have a decrease of more than 100%. Next, the Foundation to Support Animal Protection regularly donates large sums of money to the Physicians Committee. The Physician Committee then publishes a study opposing the use of meat and dairy in the public diet. What's wrong here? Well, here we see another example of potential for bias because the agenda of the people conducting the study matches the results. This doesn't mean that anything untoward happened, but it does raise the suspicion that it did. Okay, one study found a strong correlation between the number of swimming pool drowning deaths each year and the amount of energy generated by nuclear power plants in the same year. Clearly, we need to stop swimming in pools or stop using nuclear power because that's causing people to die from drowning. What's wrong here? Okay, as we've seen before, correlation is not causation. Chocolate! Okay, who loves chocolate? Actually, I should ask, who doesn't love chocolate? This is without question one of my weaknesses, although I confess I don't really consider it a weakness while I'm consuming it. Here we see an article published in the peer-reviewed Journal of Nutrition, noting that chocolate is rich in flavonoids and regular consumption of flavonoids may reduce the risk of coronary heart disease. The candy company Mars Incorporated and the Chocolate Manufacturers Association each provided funding for the study. What's wrong here? Well, again, we see a potential for bias because the results match the agenda of those funding the study. You know, I remember as a kid drinking water from the garden hose on hot summer days. Somehow we've gotten away from that. Now most, if not all, the water I drink is filtered. Bob Dylan was right, but the times, they are changing. Here we see an online poll of 951 internet users, 57% of whom say they prefer drinking bottled water instead of tap water. What's wrong here? Well, here again, we see the bias introduced by using a voluntary sample. Applying the results from such a sample to the whole population is dangerous because your sample in no way characteristically represents your population. Okay, here we have a wallet ad claiming that one of their wallets reduces your filled wallet size by 100%. What's wrong here? Well, if you reduce the wallet size by 100%, you eliminate the wallet because 100% is everything. And getting rid of everything means bye-bye wallet. Okay, here we have the Newport Chronicle, which once conducted a survey by asking readers to call with their response to this question. Do you support the development of atomic weapons that could kill millions of innocent people? Of the 20 readers who reportedly responded, 87% said no and 13% said yes. What's wrong here? Well, there's actually more than one thing wrong here. First, the value judgment in the wording of the question introduces a bias. Second, this sample size is way too small. We're not told what population the sample is intended to represent, but it doesn't matter. Only 20 people to represent a country of 350 plus million people is obviously flawed. But so is 20 people to represent the state of Rhode Island with over 1 million people. Or 20 people to represent the city of Newport with over 24,000 people. Any way you look at it, the sample size is too small. The sample is also self-selected. Voluntary response always introduces bias into the results. Finally, as we saw previously with the falsified data, one cancer researcher reported on his experiments with mice, the results shown here can't come from a sample size of 20. The only percentages you can get with a sample size of 20 end in either 0 or 5. So where does 87% and 13% come from? 85 and 15 perhaps, but not 87 and 13. Here's our last one. The amount of arsenic in samples of rice grown in Texas were measured by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. What's wrong here? Okay, I admit this one was sort of a trick question. As long as nothing untoward is happening here, there's nothing wrong. All we know here is a government agency, which is an organization intended to act in the interest of the public at large, not saying it always does, just saying that's the theory, made measurements. Making measurements is part of many legitimate data collection efforts. So as long as there's nothing that would suggest the government is acting in an interest not aligned with the public good, there's nothing wrong here. That brings us to the end of this mini lecture. I hope you found it helpful. You can find more mini lectures for this and other courses at AspireMountainAcademy.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.